thought today I would start a series. It's kind of an informal series. I wasn't really thinking about doing one, but I've gotten a couple of letters about this book, A Practical Guide to Meditation and Prayer. So I thought it'd be a good idea to just focus a couple of weeks on some of its content. And as many of you know, this was the first book that I wrote. It was published in 1990 through Unity School. And I think it went through at least three printings there. And as the sales began to slow down, and I requested that they turn it back over to me, so I published it, self-published it through Amazon, which is where it's available now. And I think it was last week or so I got a letter from someone that is doing a class on teaching their chaplains in their church different aspects of prayer, different aspects of chaplaincy, and they're using this book as their basic book, basic textbook, and they made the comment that they thought it was the best book on meditation and prayer they'd ever read, which to me was a compliment. I know it's the best one I've ever written, but I don't know about the best I've ever read, but it strikes everyone in different ways, and I have published testimonials that I've received through the years on all my books, and radio program that I used to have, and this YouTube thing, and all the testimonials are on my website if you ever want to take a look at those. But there's quite a few on this book, mainly because it's been around for so long. But I redid it with this cover that you see, and went through it again to see if I still believe what I believed back in 1990. And I do. I made a few modifications to it because I have gotten some new insights, which you would hopefully expect over that many years. I wrote the book originally as a pamphlet. I didn't have the courage to say I was writing a book. It was a frightening thing. I was writing magazine articles for Unity magazine at that time. And so I wrote this to go up from an article to a booklet. And I sent it in to the publisher there, and they said, well, why don't you make a book out of it? You're close enough, to expand on it and make a book out of it. So I did that. And the reason that I'm calling it, or I call it, A Practical Guide to Meditation and Prayer, is because, first of all, it is practical. I hope helps people understand not only what meditation and prayer are, but why we do them, why we engage in these things, why they're helpful tools on our spiritual path. And that may seem like a silly thing to try to answer, because obviously everybody would know that. But believe it or not, there is a lot of confusion around both meditation and prayer. And I put them in this order, meditation and prayer, for a specific reason. It's because the meditation gives us an experience. That's what we're looking for. And I know it's a struggle. A lot of people have a struggle stilling the mind and getting themselves in a place where they actually experience that infilling. We're familiar with prayer in the sense that it's communication with God. We're talking to God. Somebody defined meditation as listening to God, and prayer as talking to God. And I take it a little bit further than that. The practice of meditation is an infilling, and this is what actually raises our consciousness. It's an actual experience. And just to give you an idea of the difference between a concept and an experience, if you see a bowl of water, you don't know if it's hot or cold, and somebody tells you it's hot, somebody else tells you it's cold, you have a concept, you have an idea of what it may be. But you don't know what it is until you put your finger in it. That's a direct experience. And that's what we're after in meditation. People tell you all about God, what God is, what God is not, what God's thinking, what God is holding back, what God is giving, all kinds of theories and concepts about God. But we really don't know what God is until we dip our finger in, until we have an experience. And that's what meditation's all about. And the deeper you go into a direct experience with God, the more you understand prayer. Because as I treat prayer, prayer is a directing of the energy that comes through us at the meditative level. And we can apply that to prosperity, we can apply it to healing, we can apply it to anything. But the idea is first to get the experience. And that is the most difficult, because what happens to you when you close your eyes and try to be still? You think about everything but letting go. You try to release your busy mind. It's like, I'm not going to think of pink elephants. And you sit down and close your eyes and all you do is think of pink elephants. I'm not going to think about them. So it's a challenge. But the moment that we make a breakthrough of even a minor type, we touch the hem of the garment, so to speak, then we understand what this means, what this presence of God is all about. It is an energy field that is producing us. It is rising in and as us at all times. And we are so captivated by the surface of life, the intellectual, the information that comes through the senses, and processed by the intellect, that becomes our reality. That becomes the place we dwell. That's the world. Jesus said, my kingdom is not of that world. There's something else. And because that is such a difficult thing to grasp, people say, well, he must mean it's something that's going to be coming, something that's going to happen. But he was not talking about something that was going to be coming. He was talking about a level of experience in yourself, that once you touch that, once that makes itself known to you, then you understand he wasn't talking about a coming kingdom. It's coming to our consciousness, coming to our awareness. Not literally coming. It doesn't come through observation. That's objective information. It's a subjective experience. And that's why we focus on meditation. And so very early in my ministry, I realized that prayer is a series of affirmations, denials, affirmations, whatever, we'll get into that, is only so much words until we begin to have this inner awakening, till we have this inner experience. Then we understand what it's about. And just to give an illustration, when Beth and I lived in Audrey actually was with us, and Ashley, our son, who's out in L.A., when we lived in a house in Missouri, we had 5 acres there, a beautiful setting. We had about an acre pond that we shared with a neighbor. But that pond was fed by a spring. And the spring never ran dry. It would slow down in the summertime during the hot weather there. But the pond was also, the place we lived in, South Missouri, was the ground was rock. It was riddled with cracks, and there were a lot of caves and stuff around there. There's a famous cave, at least in that area, Fantastic Caverns. It's one of the only caves you can actually drive through, or you're driven through. There, we lived a mile from that, but the pond suffered from that because it leaked. And there's a remedy to that. Supposedly, you can pour bags of bentonite in it. And that bentonite, as you may know, goes into the crack and swells up, supposedly. But the cracks were apparently big enough where that didn't work so well. So anyway, every summer the pond would get fairly low. But the imagery that I want to share is this inflow. This underground spring came up maybe 100 yards from where the pond was, came up out of the ground. And then it would fill the pond, and when it was flowing to full capacity, it was very healthy and very beautiful looking. but then it would drop down because there were leaks in it. And I've thought about that. That is a lot like us. It's a lot like when we turn our attention away from that spring. You know, that spring kind of dries up. And it's not to say that God dries up, but that our attention's taken away from that. And our consciousness has a lot of cracks in it. Our attention's all over the place. When you're worried about something, for example, your mind just goes, you watch your mind, how it imagines all kinds of things. And so the water drains out. It's not retained. So in meditation, what we're basically doing is we're plugging the cracks, and we're turning our attention to the spring so we can be filled and replenished. And once we are filled, then we become givers. There was a spillway over the dam of the pond. Once it would fill up, it would naturally run over that and go on down to something else. But that's how we are to operate. Meditation is that infilling. It's that fresh life that we experience, that fresh water. Jesus called it a fountain welling up into eternal life. Very good imagery. And as that fills up, then it spills over. And if you can imagine taking that water, say piping it, as we do here, into some form of irrigation, to a garden or whatever, you're directing that water into a specific thing, and that's what prayer is. You're filled with the energy, you're filled with the life, and you then direct this energy into a specific area, just like irrigation. That's how I have thought about it for many years. Meditation and prayer. Meditation is the becoming aware of that energy. And then speaking words of healing or whatever it is we need to direct that energy, that place. So one is an infilling and the other is an outpouring. So that's kind of the setup that we want to go with. And in the book, I think in the introduction, I said, on the path to spiritual understanding, no practice is more important in terms of spiritual transformation than the practices of meditation and prayer. And I believe that today. Meditation and prayer are two halves of a single process. Meditation provides an infilling of inspiration from our inner resource, and prayer is the act of directing this inspiration into specific areas of our experience, which is what I just said. So it's an important thing to hold on to, because sometimes it doesn't feel like our prayer is answered. And the reason our prayer is not answered is, I think it was James said, because we pray amiss. And what I would interpret that as meaning is we pray without the consciousness of God. We're praying from a mental place, an emotional place. We're not praying from that awareness of that inner spring, because that's our source of power. We're saying, I've got this problem out here, God. Please send me something to help remedy this problem. In other words, I'm praying from lack. I'm praying from the idea that whatever it is I need, I don't have. So I'm beginning with the idea of absence, of lack. My good is absent. But the old man in the sky out there has what I need, so I ask God to help me with that. It's petitionary, that's called petitionary prayer. And there's all kinds of things that get involved in petitionary prayer. One of the big things that probably most of us deal with is, am I worthy of an answer? Am I worthy? Why would God respond to me? There's how many billion? 7 billion of us running around this planet. What if we all prayed at once? Would God get out of breath? what would that do to God? Remember the illustration about mowing your grass? You know, you mow the millions of blades of grass. Does the creative life force slow down because you mowed so many? Or does it start growing the grass again? And if every person on this planet mowed their grass at the same time, would the grass grow any slower? That's how we have to think. Am I plugged into that consciousness when I'm praying? Do I see that infinite intelligence is working through me now as I speak my prayer, as I deny and as I affirm? Am I acknowledging, am I praying from a consciousness of God? The presence of God is a living presence, is an unlimited resource. Or am I looking at all the facts and saying, God, I've got a problem, help me with this? So I'm starting from a consciousness of lack, if that's the case. And that's where most of us come from. So that's why it's so important to say, there's a step before the prayer. I need to have this experience with my Creator, with my Sustainer, with infinite wisdom, infinite love, infinite life and power, intelligence. I don't have to go through a litany of anything just to be still and know. You know, that's the mandate. To be still and know that I am God. And that knowing then changes our vocabulary, changes our perception. I talk about it as finding our center of power. When you are afraid, you're not in your center of power. You're in maybe somebody else's center of power, or a center of power that's not within you. We were not given a spirit of fear. But it sure seems like we were when we're afraid. Seems like that's a pretty normal thing, is fear. It may be normal, but it's not natural. You know, I say that all the time. We were not naturally given a spirit of fear. So if we are afraid, that is a call, not to say, God, please take away my fear, but to find our center of power, so that our fear may naturally dissipate. That's the value of meditation. It's becoming still, and you don't have to have this great thundering illumination, although those are nice. It's a quiet knowing that you're not alone, that you're part of something much larger. You think about, you're tapped into the intelligence of the universe. That intelligence is aware of you, and it's aware of whoever's doing whatever on the other side of this planet. It's aware of every single blade of grass. Jesus said it's aware of every hair on your head. And that awareness is diminishing in my case, very slowly. I get more hair on my shoulders sometimes than I do on my head. But that's another topic. But meditation and prayer it's the same process. It's a tuning in, but it's two different activities, and that's what we want to understand. Think of meditation as an inhaling and prayer as the exhaling of divine energy. Two parts to the single activity we call breathing. And I think that's a very good way to think of it. You inhale, that's the in-breath, and that's basically what meditation is. It's not bringing God in from the outside, though, because God is this force that is forever welling up within us, but we're not aware of it. Our attention is turned out. Our kingdom is of the world of the senses. We want to become still and just be aware of that living force, that creative life force, as I like to call it. God is okay. The word God is okay, but there are so many misconceptions around that, or so many misleading ideas, I think. I've been listening to a series about Charles Darwin, how he sailed on the Beagle and went to the Galapagos, but he went to a lot of other places as well. 5 years. Can you imagine that? 5 years in one of those kinds of boats? I had a hard time 5 hours on our sailboat. But the thing he was fighting against back then was the belief in God, the perception of God. That when he started talking about the possibility of evolution, that things weren't just created and set here on the earth. The captain of the ship was always fighting him over this. He found these dinosaur bones, and he was asking the captain, how do you explain this? How did you get those on the boat back when Noah and the flood occurred? Well, he didn't get them on the boat. That's why they're dead. There's always an answer. But it's coming from this place that the Bible is the absolute literal truth, and there's no arguing that. So we grew up with that. Most of us grew up with these ideas that are based on ancient Hebrew beliefs. And they did not have the science we have. However, as I have said many times, the Big Bang Theory to me is just as ludicrous. Though if you talk about it, that's the way it is. That's it. Big Bang Theory, it's it. But it's a theory. And you know that it was first worked out by a Catholic priest who was also a scientist. And he never gave up his biblical view of God and all of the stuff. He compartmentalized. Tried to make them both work together, and he thought that he could, and I think he could too. And I don't have an answer to the Big Bang Theory. I just think one of these days we're going to come to the point where we don't buy into the fact that this whole universe started as something smaller than an atom, blew up, and here we are. I don't buy that. Somebody's going to come up with a better one. Anyway, that's a whole different thing too. So we think of meditation as the inhaling. And again, the reason I got off on that tangent is because we have so many misconceptions of God. You will first experience God as a very quiet movement of energy. That's your creator. It's the thing that's dividing your cells right now. It's the thing that's operating in you as the intelligence that knows how to do this and much more. Do you hear your cells dividing? You know they're doing it. There's a quiet energy at work in you and in me, in all of us. And religions, almost all religions have declared that one of the qualities of God is omnipresent, everywhere present equally at the same time. Which means that wherever you are, God is. So why would we be looking for something out there when God is here? We are the sponge immersed in the ocean of God. The ocean is within the sponge is within the ocean, but the ocean is greater. Exactly what Jesus said in different terms. So we want to know our Maker. We want to know that which is making us at this moment. That is our source. So that's the inbreathing. And when we touch that, you have a challenge in your life, you touch that center of power, then you speak words out of that center of power. Words that influence, first of all, your consciousness. And then you let the cards fall where they will, the greater good unfolds through you. So in a healing meditation, for example, you pull your thoughts from the appearance of illness and open your mind and heart to your spiritual wholeness. Very difficult if you're in pain, particularly. It's hard to take your mind off pain. And that's one of the challenges that we have. But we start with the idea that, yes, my body hurts. I have a healing need. But there is a whole body. I have an astral body, a spiritual body, whatever you want to call it. that has never been sick. It is not subject to the same laws that this physical body is subject to. And it's me. It's the real of me. Because I am saying I have this body. So what is this I that has this body? We back up to this place, even if it's an intellectual exercise only. We're not experiencing any shift in awareness. I have this body. What is this I? And we say, I am whole. That which I am is not subject to the pain this body is in. So the pain in the body, that's one thing, but that's not me. I'm something else. We start with this. We pull our thoughts from the appearance of illness and open our mind and heart to our spiritual wholeness. I am whole already. So I don't ask for healing. I become aware of my wholeness. You can't receive something you've already got. Before they call, I will answer. That's what it means. You've already got it. And that's what we're looking for. This opening process is not a blind groping for something you do not have, but a receptivity to your spiritual wholeness. Regardless of the condition of your body, you are whole and complete right now. You invite this wholeness to come forth, to become part of your conscious reality. And that's the key to, when I say come forth into your awareness. I'm already whole. Yes, I hurt. My body is painful, in pain at this moment. And you can apply this to anything. Say you've got a prosperity issue. Life's messed up. But beneath that is wholeness and balance and abundance. Because the presence of God is everywhere. It's a consciousness that we move into first, our center of power. So that's the infilling, and the prayer then would be, prayer is the releasing of all negative energy around this appearance. The releasing is the denial, the letting go. And then directing affirmative statements to your body, particularly to the affected area. So what does that mean? We become still, even if we hurt. We come to some level of realization that I am not my body, I am something more than that. And that something more is whole. And so I look at the illness and I say, I now release the power I have given you. And you see yourself releasing, feel the release. It's very easy to cling to pain. So it takes practice to let go, to release, or something you're worried about. It's a difficult thing to do, is release that. That's why you find your center of power first. It's easier to release. You can still be in pain and let go. And actually that's where we all must start. It's never comfortable. But the letting go, and then the affirmative, is I say words, I put into words what is true of me at the deepest level. I am now whole and expressing completeness through this condition. So there is a realization through meditation, there is a letting go of the appearance, and there's affirming what is true. It's actually a threefold process.
1, 2, 3, 4. As a blessing comes come back home to stay. And you marvel at their flight and hold them close at night. In your heart they rest in peace. In truth, they never leave. I hold you in my heart like a hummingbird that darts, that lands upon the flower. Graceful wings with so much power, you could dance among stars. Yet I hold you in my heart. There's a sparkle in my smile when I think of you a while. There's a lightness in my soul because I've come to know you're always with me in my heart tenderly. Like a candle burning bright, I would hold your light. I hold you in my heart like a diamond or a star, whose light forever shines beyond mere space and time. God's light is what you are, and I hold you in my heart. I hold you in my heart like a hummingbird that darts, that lands upon flowers. Graceful wings with so much power, you could dance among stars. But I hold you in my heart. God's light is what you are, and I hold you in my heart.
You've been watching a talk given by Reverend Doug Bottorff here at Independent Unity in beautiful Grand Junction, Colorado. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. It really helps us spread our message. If you would like to support us, you can do so by clicking the button in the right-hand corner of the video screen. We greatly appreciate your support. Thanks again for watching.